Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today's video will be my TV and movie wrap up for July and August. I watched a total of 8 things in the last 2 months and they were all movies. I didn't watch any TV in the last 2 months, which is kind of crazy. But I did watch a lot of movies, which I am happy about. I did watch 5 new movies. And then I had 3 rewatches, which I feel like is pretty good because usually I am the type to just rewatch movies instead of watching new ones. So I am glad that I have watched 5 new movies. So I guess I'm just gonna jump straight in. The first movie I watched was Resisting Roots. This I gave a 3 out of 5 stars. I actually made a whole video dedicated to this book and to this movie because it is a Passionflix adaptation. I will link that down below if you want to know more of my thoughts and opinions about the movie. Resisting Roots is about Genevieve, who is a yoga instructor, and she is currently raising her 2 siblings after their parents have passed away. And she ends up falling in love with Trent, who is a baseball player, and he is a little bit of a player. I definitely enjoyed the book more, but it was a solid adaptation. I think they did a good job. The casting was all right. I feel like they had a decent amount of chemistry. Of course, with every Passionflix movie, there is a little bit of cringe and awkwardness, and this one had that, but I feel like the book was pretty similar. The dialogue was a little cringy and the sex scenes weren't the best. The directing and the sets and just the overall vibe of the movie is kind of what held it together. I feel like the acting was rough in the beginning and then it kind of got better towards the end. Also because I had just read the book and I really liked the book and I was very surprised that I enjoyed it. So I think I had a little bit more higher expectations from the movie and I think I was just a little disappointed with it. I don't think it's the worst that Passionflix has ever done, but it's definitely not one of my favorites. Then I watched Coraline, which I gave a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I don't think I'll be able to properly explain this movie, so I'm just gonna read the IMDb summary. An adventurous 11-year-old girl finds another world that is a strangely idealized version of her frustrating home, but it has sinister secrets. I really enjoyed this movie. I thought the animation style was so cool and the story itself was very interesting. I loved Coraline as a character. I did not expect her to be the way that she was. Just kind of a little bit of like a snarky, kind of badass, independent character. I really liked her, but also at the same time I feel like she had to grow on me. The plot itself was just very interesting and different. Like I said, the animation was wonderful, very beautiful. I loved the whole style, and some of it was kind of scary and it gave like this very like haunting vibe. Also, all of the voice acting was great. I didn't feel like it was off or like didn't fit the animation style. I feel like it worked very well together. It was a very different, interesting movie and I could see myself rewatching it. I just didn't love it as much as I thought I would. Then I watched Purple Hearts, which I initially gave 3.5 out of 5 stars, but I'm still kind of undecided about the rating. This follows Cassie, who's a struggling singer-songwriter, and she meets Luke, a troubled Marine, and they do not get along. They do not like each other, but they decide to get married for military benefits. I probably would have liked this movie a lot more if it weren't for the obvious racism, and that's why it's really hard for me to rate this movie, because if you took out the racism aspect of this movie, I really liked it. But it's hard to give this movie more when the racism was not addressed or properly dealt with in this movie. All of the political and military propaganda stuff just kind of turned me off from the movie, but I liked the actors and I did like the romance. I feel like they had a decent amount of chemistry. I didn't mind any of like the singing aspects. I actually liked them. I know a lot of people complain that there was like too much of it, but I thought it was fine. I did also feel like there was too much of like a push of it trying so hard to be feminist and woke, but then also included like racism. Nothing was addressed, it was just weird. Like, I don't know. Overall, I liked this movie. I just feel like it was lacking a little bit. Then I watched Persuasion. This I gave 4 out of 5 stars. This is obviously the 2022 version, which is on Netflix with Dakota Johnson. I'm going to be very honest. I have not read Persuasion, nor have I seen any other adaptations. So this is purely my thoughts and my opinions on somebody who knows nothing of the story. Obviously, I gave it 4 stars. I liked it. I can understand why hardcore fans of the story are upset with this movie or like didn't love it. I totally understand why. I think it's definitely different. I won't deny that the modern dialogue was a little off and it did feel weird in this movie, but I feel like that might be my only complaint about it. And also, I guess like Dakota doesn't really fit like the historical vibe, but I liked this movie for what it was. I liked Dakota as Anne. I've heard in the book Anne is a little bit more like depressing and sad, and in the movie they went with more of like a comedic Anne, I guess. And this movie breaks the fourth wall, which I liked. I feel like it added a little bit more of an interesting layer to this movie. I personally liked the actor who played Wentworth. I know a lot of people were very hesitant on him, but I liked him. I wish there was a little bit more chemistry between that actor and Dakota, but I liked them both as their characters. I loved all the shots and the directing. It was a very beautiful movie. I also really liked all the other actors as well, specifically the actress who played Mary. I loved her. She was so great. I thought she did a really good job, and I feel like everybody's comedic timing was great. Dakota's accent was a little rough in some scenes, but I feel like for the most part, she did a pretty good job. I honestly really enjoyed this movie, and I can actually see myself rewatching it. I really liked it. And then I did a bunch of rewatches. So I rewatched After, which I have solidified a 3.5 out of 5 star. I feel like I've always been very iffy on what my rating is for the first movie, and I've solidified it. It's a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I can't tell you how many times I've rewatched this. I feel like I've probably watched it a million times. I've made countless videos on this first movie. It's nothing like the book, but I grew to love it for what it is. I actually rewatched this with my friends, and then I rewatched it again alone. So I technically rewatched this twice in August. But yeah, I love this movie. It is one of my favorites of all time. I just love it. I don't know. Then I rewatched After We Collided, which I gave 2 out of 5 stars. This is obviously the second movie in the After series. I don't like this movie, and the only time I ever rewatch it is when a new movie is coming out and I decide to rewatch the entire franchise. I just don't like it. I don't like what they did with the characters. I don't like the directing. I don't like the dialogue. I don't like how Tessa and Hardin both look. Specifically Tessa's wardrobe. I don't know what happened, but she started dressing like an old lady when she's literally 20. One thing that really bothered me in this movie is Tessa, I think, swore like 2 or 3 times. And if you've read the book, you know Tessa doesn't swear. Like, she gets uncomfortable swearing or saying inappropriate things. And I don't like how there was trying to be some sort of comedic relief in this movie. This movie was all over the place for me, and I really don't like it. The only things that are good about this movie are 2 sex scenes, the one in the shower and the one in the bed. All the scenes with Hardin's mom and Hero and Joe. If it weren't for them, this movie would get less than 2 stars. Then I rewatched After We Fell, which I gave 4 out of 5 stars. I absolutely love this movie. Obviously, I rewatched all of these movies because I was going to see After Ever Happy, which I will talk about because I did watch that. I love everything about this movie. I love Hero and Joe and their acting and their chemistry, and I love the script and the dialogue, and I love all the new recasting that we got. I love the directing. I love the cinematography. I love the pacing of this movie. It felt long, but not too long. I love how they included the important parts about Tessa and Hardin's story, how it's just about them and their issues and their family issues. It felt like Book Hessa came to life, and it felt like it wasn't an exaggerated version of them, or it wasn't a toned down version of them. It felt very much like the characters came alive from the book in a very realistic and normal way. I just love this movie. I love everything about it, and I honestly wish I would rewatch it more. I don't know why I don't rewatch it that much. I feel like I've only seen it 4 times, which is crazy. I definitely want to rewatch it more now that I've seen it again. And also, I love the soundtrack. I was kind of iffy on the soundtrack at first, but I actually really, really love it now, and I feel like it really suits the movie. I also do have review videos for all of the After movies, so I will link all of those down below. Then I obviously watched After Ever Happy, which is the 4th movie in the After series, and this one I gave a solid 4 out of 5 stars. I feel like I probably need to see it again to figure out my official rating, but as of right now, I'm giving it 4 out of 5 stars. I also did make a full review video for this movie, so I will link that down below if you want to know more of my thoughts. I really, really loved this movie. I thought the acting was fantastic, literally the best acting in the entire franchise so far. There were so many emotional, heavy scenes, and I feel like Hiro and Joe really did such a good job. I feel like every scene was handled with such care, and you could tell that not only the actors but the crew just really put in such an effort with every scene. Also, Hiro and Joe had great chemistry like always. I feel like that is what has held this franchise together, especially for the first 2 movies. All the other actors were fantastic, and I just overall loved the plot and script. Like, all the dialogue was fantastic. Some of the dialogue even from the book, and it really worked in the movie. The directing obviously was great, and all of the sets were beautiful as well. This movie was definitely the saddest one out of all of them. There were a lot of just emotional stuff. There were definitely a couple of scenes that I teared up in, and I don't know, they just did such a good job with this movie, and it was almost a perfect adaptation. I feel like they followed the book really, really well. It was just a really good movie. So that is it for my TV and movie wrap up for July and August. Let me know if you have seen any of the movies that I talked about and what you think about them, or let me know any TV shows or movies that you've seen recently. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to give this video a like, subscribe, follow me on all my other social media, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!